Hi guys, here I am with part two. I decided I would just go ahead and finish off, that first part of my weight loss journey because that really talked about the specific external components of my weight loss, I guess I would say, and not at all about what happened in the journey from an internal standpoint. So hopefully this message isn't as long, but I did want to just give an overview of what I mean when I'm saying, it's not enough to lose the weight. You've got to figure out how to lose the weight for good. And there's sort of a mixed message in that, to be honest, because what I found for myself is in losing the weight, I had a pretty significant spiritual awakening, and I'll go into that in a second. But what ended up happening with that spiritual awakening is it created in me this overwhelming desire to live out my soul's purpose. I don't think I'm unique in, especially when I was younger, I was always like, what is it I'm meant to do? Like, what am I meant to do? What am I here to do? Is it really to be a buyer in a fashion industry, or a trainer in banking, or an insurance broker, or even a mom? Like, is that what I'm here to do? And nothing other than being a mom. I remember having Sarah, and I had to have a C-section. I have had 2 C-sections. I've had 2 C-sections, a hysterectomy, and my gallbladder removed. So to say there are no muscles down there anymore, it's bleak. But I remember waking up. They ended up having to knock me out right after, I was feeling pain. And so they knocked me out. So it was a few hours before I saw her. And I came out of the drug-induced state I was in, and they put her in my arms. And I knew with every fiber of my being that this is why I was here. I was here to just be a mom. Not to just be a mom, but to be a mom. To just relish in that role with my babies. And I did. I relished that role. Was it easy all the time? No, that's a story I will tell. It certainly had its very, very dark moments. And I definitely will tell that story. But not here, not today. But I knew. Yet, my soul still yearned, right? I can remember being a teenager and just being so drawn to religion. Gosh, so drawn to religion. And thinking, oh, I could be, a pastor someday. Well, I was in a Southern Baptist church, and they don't let women do that. I don't know if they do anymore, but they didn't then. I still don't think that they do. Not in the big role anyway. And if there's one thing I've got, it's a shit ton of ambition. But what I always yearned for was really something that lit me up on the inside, that got me out of bed every day, that felt so aligned that I couldn't stop thinking about it. And there are moments of that in everything that I've done. And, as a mother, obviously, that's the core of who you are, right? But I felt like, at least for me, it was bigger than that. Not bigger than being a mom, but bigger than being a buyer, being a divisional of training on a large scale, or being, a rock star in my insurance. It just those things are great, and all of that, and I'm proud of those things. But it just felt like something was missing. Like there's something more, right, that I was meant to do. But who has the time to explore that when you are a working mom? I mean, I was a stay-at-home mom for 14 years, but I did resume working when Sarah was 14 and Caroline was 10. So you're in now, those were the busy years, right? Not that having little kids isn't busy, but they were like these, you know, aspiring big time athletes. And, you know, there was just a lot going on at all times. And I wanted to be 100% in both places, which I'm sure every working mom knows that feeling. And so there's just no time to kind of go, well, what do I want? You know, I'm doing this thing, but it's a what if I sat down with myself, I would say, this is what I want. This is what I'm drawn to. And I never even took the time to ask those questions. So I got on this weight loss journey, and I did start to ask those questions, you know? And I don't think I'm unique in that, because as we start to become empty nesters, Caroline left for college, you know, I'm in this big house alone going, now what? I don't work. I don't have tennis anymore to throw myself behind. I'm fat. Now what? I'm looking at my husband who, you know, I love so much, but gosh, has it been a long time since we had reconnected? And I'm going, you know, who are we? Is this what we're here to do? Is this what the next 30 years of my life is going to look like? And so I threw myself into weight loss. And I said, well, I can do this, right? All this energy I've put into creating, you know, a name for myself in my chosen profession, and helping my children create names for themselves in their chosen sports, and realizing their dreams, and all of those things, all of that energy that I had been putting there, I was like, well, I'll put it into weight loss. You know, I can do that. I've done harder things than this. I can do hard things. And I tell you what, you learn real quick when you start to focus on yourself, which is what that weight loss journey really was. You learn real quick where you were out of alignment. And what I learned is that you don't get to be 303 pounds when you are being true to who you are. You just don't. Hence my name on Instagram or on YouTube, the Authenticity Alchemist. Because that's what I became for myself. Over and over and over again, I was running from me. I was running from the things that scared me. I was running from fear. Fear of being seen, fear of being abandoned, fear of being left behind, fear of being too much, fear of being too little, fear of not being good enough, fear of being too good. Fear of being rejected, fear of not being beautiful, fear of being too beautiful, fear of being fat, fear of being judged, fear of dropping balls, fear of my children hating me, fear of screwing my children up, fear of not being a good wife, fear of my husband finding somebody better, fear of not being a good daughter, fear of not being a good Christian, fear of not being a good friend. But you know what I never was afraid of? Never even occurred to me. I never knew I should be afraid of what happens when I betray who it is I really came here to be. Of using my voice, standing in my power, of being authentic. Never occurred to me to be afraid of not being authentic. I thought I was the most authentic person in the world. I said it like it was. I was loud. I was funny. I thought I was an open book. But when you weigh 300 pounds, you're hiding. You are not in alignment with yourself. And I told myself all the things, oh, it's because I don't have time to lose weight. It's because I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's because, it's expensive and I've got all this money going out. It's because we travel all the time and we eat out all the time. Who has the time to exercise? Who has the time to do the right things? Who has the time to make the right choices? Yet there were plenty of thin women doing all of those things. Why not me? Why am I the exception? It's just not in the cards for me. It's not in the cards for me to be thin. I said all of those things to myself. And I started to lose weight. And that's the thing. You start to focus on yourself and yourself will start to find you. It'll say, finally, bitch. Finally, I've been waiting. I've been waiting for you to show up. I didn't care when, but I sure am glad you did. And so that slowly started happening to me. I would take a walk and just listen to a random podcast, and that random podcast would touch me to my very soul. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I resonate with that. I hear me in this story. And then it would I would come home and I would think about it. I'd be like, oh, do I do that? Like, is that me? Is she talking about me? And then I would start to pay attention, like, am I inauthentic in my relationships? Do I create codependent relationships? Do I have a fear of abandonment? Does it freak me out to think of using my voice? And I'm real honest, because what I realized is that, I wasn't fat because I didn't have control over being fat. I was fat because I absolutely wanted to be fat, which I know. When that hit me, I was like, no, that's not true. You're wrong. Right now I'm pointing at myself. You're wrong. You didn't want to be, nobody wants to be that fat. No, I didn't. I didn't enjoy it. It's not like I was like, woohoo, mission accomplished. No, I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know my fat suit was a mask to keep me safe. And when that realization hit me, like a ton of bricks, it changed everything for me. Like, literally changed everything for me. And it started me doing the work. I started to journal. I started to ask myself the tough things, and I started to tell myself the tough things. I didn't just journal what I was feeling and questioning and all the things. I started to answer myself. And if anybody follows Elizabeth Gilbert's Letters from Love, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm not going to go into that because that's a whole nother thing. But I started to answer myself. In myself, my highest self, she knew what was up. She knew what was up, and it changed my life. And I started to do the work of looking at, when did I start to feel that way? When did I start to feel unsafe in my body? Was it the big thing? Because one of the things you'll find out about me if you stay on this journey is I am no stranger to painful experiences. I was born into it. It's kind of my birthright, I guess. I've been doing the hard things since day one, literally. Even before that. I mean, my twin, my mom was pregnant with me, and she found out she was pregnant with me because she lost my twin, and she lost my twin due to extreme domestic violence that she experienced at the hands of my real father. So that's just a precursor. But that's not the story I'm going to tell today. The story I'm going to tell today is my life, while it appears charmed, because I did a really good job of making it look that way, there's a lot there. And I never was a victim. I never wallowed in victimhood. If you would have said, oh, well, you were, a victim because of this, this, and this, I would have said no. I mean, yes, those things happened to me, but I was not a victim. I don't identify as a victim. I am a strong woman, and it did serve me well. It did. If you knew me back in the day, you knew I was a strong personality. I always maintained control. I always had a lot of friends. I have always been able to excel in whatever career I was in, despite the fact of not having a college degree. It's never been a glass ceiling for me. Yeah, all of those things. Mask, 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 mask. So many masks. It's how I hid in plain sight. Because I didn't start out that way. I started out quiet and shy and introverted. And I was the little girl who would talk to animals when I rode my bike. And I thought they took back to me, and it turns out they did. That's a story for another day. That's who I was. I was a sweet, sensitive little thing. Until I realized that wasn't going to keep me safe, because it didn't. And then I became the other extreme, right? I became strong, and I became powerful, and I became owning all that is me, and just boldly going after everything I wanted, until that cost me my entire friend group at a very impressionable age, because I got too big. I achieved a goal, and that goal cost other people in their minds. And that's when I learned to play smaller. There's a fine line. Walk the fine line. Stay on the fine line. Don't be too small, but don't be too big. And maybe don't be too pretty. Maybe don't get noticed as much. I had these big boobs. I do. Like my last mammogram, each one weighs 10 pounds. Think if I got a boob job, how much weight I would lose. I've always had them, right? But then you add that on a good body, you get seen. And that can be threatening to friends. That can be threatening to boyfriends. That can be unsafe, because it can cost you relationships. It can cost you acceptance. It can create rumors around you. So you gotta walk a fine line. Like, what is that fine line? Maybe just don't be seen as much. And you get into relationships, and there's just that competitiveness, like, it's happening for you, but it's not happening for them, or you're making more than they are, all of these things. And you learn, play smaller, because it's going to cost you too much. And so you start to find a way to do that, right? You start to find a way, and it's all going really well until life gets busy and it gets chaotic, and then you're like, I don't want to play small anymore. Like, I'm tired of this. I want to play big, but I know I can't. I'm frustrated. I'm so frustrated. I'm tired. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I am not living in alignment. And you're not thinking those things, but your body, your nervous system knows. It knows. And it is frustrated, and it is saying, eat. Eat. Just get fat and you won't have these problems. Because if you get fat, you start to realize, oh, nobody's looking at me. My friends aren't threatened by me. yeah, I got big boobs, but I got a lot of other big stuff too out, kind of balancing it out. So they're not standing out as much anymore. I'm not quite as promotable as I once was because I'm visible, and maybe I don't quite create the image that this company wants anymore. So, you know, I can kind of control how far I go. A lot of safety in that, especially if you're worried about losing work colleagues because there's that competitive thing. Maybe men don't notice me as much. Maybe my friends don't feel as threatened by what might be perceived as a pretty appearance. Maybe I don't have to use my voice as much because when you're the largest person in the room, you're often the most unseen. There's a lot of safety in that. Of controlling the narrative, of being the loud, fat, funny friend. You're not a threat to your friends. You're not a threat to your employers. You're not a threat to anybody. You just coast. You just coast. You get paid a little less than everybody else because it is a fact that more attractive people make more money. It's not fair, but it's a fact. Players like that. You don't tend to ask for the promotion because you don't tend to think that you're going to get it. And what's more, you don't really want it. Let's be honest, you're hiding. You think you want it. You think you're pissed you're not getting paid as much. It's a lot of responsibility that comes from those jobs, right? From having to look a certain way, to have a certain persona, to have to lose the people who maybe didn't like that you made it and they didn't. And so that realization came to me when one day I had lost, I don't remember where I was, my weight. I was I was in the teens, in the twos, so like 215, we'll just say. And a friend of mine who I had worked with, I had stopped working, very, very close friend, came to the door, very beautiful woman, gorgeous, inside and out, gorgeous. Came to the door to get me. We were going out with some colleagues, old colleagues of mine who hadn't seen me at all. The last time they saw me, I was 303 pounds. So, I had dressed up, I had brought it, I wear my weight well. I feel like I looked really pretty that day. I don't think there's anything wrong in saying that. I did look good. And I had on new clothes because, of course, I had to buy a lot of new clothes on this journey. And she came to the door. She took one look at me and she goes, fuck. And I mean, we were very close friends, so it was okay for her to be honest. And I was like, what? I thought, like, I hadn't styled myself in anything cute in a long time. Did I screw it up? Because she has great fashion sense. And she said, I wasn't prepared. And I said, you weren't prepared for what? She goes, I wasn't prepared for you to look better than me. And my entire being went, I just felt it. I felt my entire energy do that. And I kind of joked it off, like, I not upset at all. Like, I am, like, be honest. Yeah. Wow. Okay. But wow. Because we became friends when I was very large. I was probably 260 pounds when we became friends. Well, maybe not that big, but when we became friends. So I was always a good 30 pounds heavier than her. She's much taller than me. She never knew me before that. I mean, I hardly remembered me like this. And then fast forward to I'm at Meijer with my husband, and it's like within the same time period. We're grocery shopping. And no, not even grocery shopping. We're walking to the grocery area, and these women are over by clothing. And they're looking at me. Just looking at me. Just looking at me. And I'm like, why are they looking at me? So I look over at my husband and I'm like, do I have something on my face? Like legit asking, do I have something on my face? Is there something I need to be aware of here? And he was like, no, why? And I was like, well, those women over there, like, they're watching me. And he goes, it's because you're pretty. Like, it was no big deal. And I'm not saying that's the reason those women were looking at me. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that when he said that, those words that he said made me go, whoosh. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. That's not comfortable to me. And then around the same time, my sweet neighbor, who I love so, so much, she had put a side-by-side of me at the pool the summer before. They have a pool. This pool the summer before and the pool the summer after. And she wanted to show it to me, like the summer we had just had, and she wanted to show me my weight loss. She's like, I just don't think you appreciate it enough. We walked all the time together. She's like, I just don't think you appreciate enough, like the transformation. And she's like, so I did this for you. I want you to see it side by side. I was like, okay. So I looked at it and I was like, wait a minute. And she said, what? I'm like, I remember these days. I didn't think I looked good in either photo, to be honest. And I said, I didn't look like that. And she said, what? And I'm like, no, I don't, is that what I look like? And she's like, yeah. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew I'd been wearing a mask. Because, and I'm not exaggerating at all 1 second. When I looked in a mirror at 303 pounds, when I looked in a mirror at 215 pounds, when I looked in a mirror at 170 pounds, I looked like I look now at 135 pounds. The way I look staring back at me in this video, that's what I look like in those mirrors. Every time. And I knew I had some sort of body dysmorphia. I knew that because I had seen pictures where I would go, oh, God, I thought I looked a lot better than that when I left the house. But I guess I just didn't know the extent of it. And what I knew in that moment that was crystal clear to me, that had never been clear to me before, is that when I was alone with myself, when I was staring in a mirror, when I was getting ready, when I was sitting with who I was authentic. And I saw my authentic self in a mirror. I didn't see the fat suit. I didn't see how my personality was so different when I was outside of my home, or even when I was in my home with my family versus who I was when I was alone. Until that moment. And in that moment, I was like, wow, this is it. And I was still on my weight loss journey at that time. This is it. This is the reason. I didn't wear my fat suit because I didn't have control. I wore my fat suit to have control. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I'm not saying that's for everybody. But I don't think I'm alone in that. And I've done a lot of healing. I've done a lot of growing. I've done a lot of questioning everything. And I've done a lot of reclaiming myself. And what I learned was I had silenced myself for a long time. I had played small for a long time. I played small by being big. I learned that there was a core wound that all women carry that goes straight back to Eve. I learned that the patriarchy has a lot to gain by keeping us small. I just learned a lot. But most importantly, I learned who I was. I learned who I wanted to be. I learned how I wanted to show up in this world. I learned what it was like to lead from my heart. My mantra is, what would love do? in this situation, in every situation, what would love do? Love for myself, love for others. I learned how I created a lot of codependent relationships that weren't fair to the people that were on the receiving end of them when I finally changed the rules and said, I don't want to be codependent anymore. And that cost me people. That cost me friendships at no fault of the other party. I just learned a lot. And all of these things I've learned on how to lose weight, how to make it gentle, how to not have a no pain, no gain approach to it, how to reconcile all of these different things that go into weight loss. There's so much. It's no one thing. It's not just doing the inner work. It's not just doing the outer work. It's not just doing the somatic movement. It's not just doing the strength training. It's not just looking at your predisposed genetic makeup and what intuitively makes the most sense for you. Which, by the way, I will do if you ever want to work with me or join my community I'm creating. All of those things I will help walk you through. It is a combination of reclaiming yourself, of finding a way to feel comfortable in your own skin and not silencing your voice anymore. But finding peace, finding your truth in your peace, in your joy. I have so much joy. I have so much peace. I have so much happiness. Is my life perfect? It is so not perfect. Do I have struggles every single day? Are there days I'm tempted to just eat whatever the hell I want? They're a lot less, but they happen. Have I had a million vacations on this weight loss journey? Far more than I should have. Yes. Have I faced the darkest of days? But am I living my heaven on earth? I 100% am. And that's what I want for you. That's what I want other women to find. It's because I lost weight. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think the weight loss was, I think I could have gotten to a place in my inner world where I was able to be sovereign. And that sovereignty would have led, I never said that word right, would have led to a weight loss just because of that. But what I do know is I'm a little bit further down the path than you. And if you want me to help you on your journey, I don't want to be your coach. I want to be your guide in every way possible. You know, if you're not ready to do the inner work, you don't have to do the inner work. But let's figure out. You know, I've created a way to look at all the components of how you're made up to figure out, well, what would be your triggers and when will you be triggered? I can even look and see when will you be triggered based on different factors. And then how do we create a plan together to help you when those moments happen? Because, you know, we all know when it's going well, it's easier to stay in the zone. But it's when the external world is being chaotic, how do you be the calm in the storm? Even when you're the storm. Because sometimes you have to be. But how can you create trust with yourself? How can you build trust? Because it's a million little things done over time, not all at once. How can you create that trust in yourself? How can you create safety in your own body? How can you start opening up your voice, not all at once, but maybe in a small way here and there, just to let yourself know it's safe to do that? How can you start reclaiming small parts of who you are that you've been giving away all of these years? How can you find your joy, your peace, your happiness, your truth, and then stand in that while still letting the mantra, what would love do, be your guiding force, your North Star? But what would love do for you? Let yourself deserve that love. Let's work on that together. Let's find a way for you to lose the weight. Let's do that. Let's get that weight off together. but let's get that weight off for good. I'd love to help you. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning. It's what makes me excited. It's the reason why I weighed 303 pounds and went through all of the things that I went through so that I can help another soul stand in their authenticity, stand in their truth. I'm honored and I'm humbled and I'm grateful. And this may not resonate with you, and you may not agree with a lot of the things I just said. And then that's how you know this isn't for you. This isn't for everybody. But find what is. Find what is. That's all. Find what it takes for you to find peace. And if you find peace with extra weight, that's your truth. But be honest with yourself as you go through this journey. That's all. So that's it, guys. That's it for today anyway. That's all I got. I had to go make dinner. But thanks for watching my story. If you disagree, because I know there are a lot of triggering things in here, but it's my truth. It's my reality. I lost the weight, and these are all the things that were true for me. Do I have opinions? Sure I do. Did I share them? Yeah, I did. All I ask is for kindness. You have your opinions, I have mine. I won't come at you for yours. Don't come at me for mine. Let's just agree to disagree and cheer each other on, regardless of whether or not we're on the same page or not. Because at the end of the day, we just need women supporting women and standing in their truth, even if that truth isn't ours. That's all I got. Hopefully I'll see you on another YouTube. I'll be announcing something I'm creating. I'm still working on it. So we can take it deeper at some point soon, very soon. But I just thought, let's get it out there. It's time. All right, thank you. Have a great day. And I'll see you on the next one.